Alice, thank you so much for joining us here on Bold. It's been almost 1 year now since you were free. Can you tell me how that feels? Do you still have to pinch yourself sometimes just to make sure it's not a dream?
It's an incredible feeling. I can't tell you what it means to be able to hold my grandchildren, some for the very first time, some family members I have not seen in over 20 years. So this is this is a dream come true for me. And yes, I do have to pinch myself sometimes.
So, you did not know who Kim Kardashian was before she took up your cause. And now you two are friends?
Yes, we're very good friends now. She did the forward to my book, Afterlife, and she talks about us being friends, myself having inspired Kim Kardashian, and she calls me family now. We're very good friends. We just were texting last night.
What did she say yesterday when you guys were texting?
We were talking about her baby, her new beautiful baby son. We talked about Kanye's birthday, and we just talked about things in general. We stay closely connected.
So, what has your life looked like over this past year?
It has been a life that I could not, on my wildest day of dreaming, daydreaming, imagine that I would not only have a book that's been published, but I've spoken on so many platforms. I just recently spoke at the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis to a packed audience, and that meant so much to me because Martin Luther King really impacted my life during the civil rights movement, and what is going on with me now has become a movement. This is a movement for criminal justice reform, and just being able to get my voice, to get my story out there, because every time I tell my story, people connect with it, not just because it's my story, but it's the story of so many other people.
So, you have become the face of prison reform in America and an inspiration to so many people. Did you ever think that you would end up in this situation?
Never. I was just living life in prison, doing the best that I could do to impact the environment that I was in at that time as best as I could on a positive level. I was living life, and I was trying to help other women do their time and to not just come to peace with that, but to have peace. You've heard of the saying, peace in the midst of the storm. That is what I had there in the very midst of the storm that I was going through.
How did you hold on to hope while you spent all of those years in prison? I know faith is something that's very important to you. What were some of the ways God showed you while you were in there that He was still there?
Well, dreams. The Lord would send me so many different dreams that would be vivid dreams, dreams of my freedom, dreams of being reunited with my family. Then others were coming to me, women, some women I didn't even know. They would tell me, Miss Alice, I dreamed about you. And every single time they would tell me that there was media involved. And I couldn't imagine how media would be involved in my case. And I remember one day I was feeling so down, and someone came to my door. It was my birthday, and I didn't tell anyone that it was my birthday. And she came and she brought something. She said, Miss Alice, I felt God was wants me to come to you and give you this, and also to give you a hug and let you know that He loves you. And it was so many things. If I wrote about all the things that happened, it would fill up a library. It wouldn't be enough space for me to write those books of all the things that happened to me in prison to keep me encouraged. And my family kept me encouraged too, with just their faith that one day I was going to be reunited with them.
Are you in touch with any of the women that you served time with?
Well, right now I'm on probation. I'm hoping to become off of it very soon. But I am in touch with so many family members, and the women who I was in prison with are so encouraged. They are watching me on TV. They say every time they turn the TV on, it seems like they see me, and they are encouraged, and also the men are encouraged too. So much hope. They have so much hope. And hope is something that you can't put a price tag on it. It's a terrible thing to tell someone not to hope. And I was told not to hope, having a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And so they see that if this could happen to me, it could also happen to them.
And what's your advice for someone who might be losing hope that doesn't see an end to their situation?
I would tell them, don't allow your hope. You have to fan that hope sometimes. No matter what their situation is, no matter what their condition in life, that there is still hope. And things can change just like that, the way that it changed for me. And I would tell them to don't even make a bad decision in life because you're feeling hopeless. There's a scripture that says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." And it is the darkest time of night, right before that is the darkest time of the day, is right before the sun comes up. So I would tell them to hold on to your hope.
So, during the State of the Union, Donald Trump spoke about you and how much of an inspiration you are for almost 2 minutes. What did it feel like? You were sitting there next to Ivanka. What did it feel like having the President of the United States taking the time out of such an important speech to speak about you?
That was one of the most incredible feelings that I've ever had in my life. Listening to the president call me, who was called terrible, now he's calling me terrific because of the things that I have been able to do in prison, and seeing my loving family reunite, and also looking out upon that audience and seeing everyone there standing and giving me a standing ovation. And I thought about, at that very moment last year, I was standing up to count. But instead, now I'm standing. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
So, you have not been shy about your gratitude towards President Trump. How does it feel? And what do you say to people who criticize him as being a racist?
So I would say to them that I am not God. Only God knows the true heart of a man. All I know is this, is that I'm a black woman, and I was granted my freedom by President Trump. And I will be forever grateful to him for believing in me. And this goes so much beyond anyone's policies or politics. I'm a human being, and my very life was at stake.
Do you think people who have committed crimes and have been incarcerated should have the right to vote?
Absolutely. Once that person has been released from prison and you say that you're giving them a second chance, they're a returning citizen. How can you be a returning citizen when you don't even have a voice, when you can't even vote? So I believe strongly that ex felons should be immediately, when their time is complete, given their right to vote back. Restore them, not just in words, but in deeds also.
You applied for clemency under Obama and you were denied. What did that feel like? And then how did you remain hopeful when these requests were being denied?
I held, well, really, I still had hope. There's no way that I never wrapped my head around accepting that I would die in prison. I never let anyone dictate to me and tell me that this is going to be your final resting place, even though I was told that I would take my last dying breath in prison. Of course, I would not be human. I would not be telling the truth if I didn't tell you that I was very disappointed, especially during the clemency uh, project 2014, when there was a criteria set out, and I knew that not only did I meet the criteria, but I exceeded all of the criteria. Over 10 years in prison, no significant criminal history. I had no criminal history. Good conduct. I had perfect conduct in prison. So only God knows why I was passed by, but I believe it was for a greater purpose. This, the reason that I am free today is not just about me, it's for so many other people. And I don't believe that purpose could have been fulfilled if I had been released under the Obama administration. God works in mysterious ways, and I think this is part of my destiny to do this.
And what are some of the programs, the reform programs that you've been working on this past year?
Well, I've been working on bringing attention to the mandatory minimum sentencing guidelines. Those need to be struck down. Those archaic laws, those archaic policies. The war on drugs was really a war on families. And so this sentencing needs to change. Parole needs to come back in the federal system, just like the state. There's no difference between an individual that commits a federal or a state crime. So parole should be for everyone. And also, when people are released from prison, give them a real second chance, a chance to succeed. Take that box away. Ban that box that says that they are ex anything. Let them be a new person now. There's a lot of other things, so many things that need to be changed, but those are just some of the things that I'm passionate about. They've already passed the First Step Act. That was one of the things I wanted to see, women not shackled anymore during childbirth, and that has already been passed. That's part of the First Step Act, and also getting people closer to home because that impacted me. My first prison, I was 1,500 miles away from my family. So there's a lot of things that needs to be fixed in our criminal justice system.
So I want to go back to the idea of the disenfranchisement of people who have committed crimes. Tell me about your time in prison and what you did that people might not know about to develop yourself as a citizen and as a person so that when you did finally get out, you were able to become an impactful member of society.
Well, I never, as I said, I never accepted that I would never come get out of prison. I took classes, I educated myself, I became certified in electrical, a personal trainer, computer operations. I took computer classes, and I also taught classes. I taught wellness classes for women who are over 50. I wrote plays to get women involved in plays to let them see that they had value, that there was things that they could do. There's something terrible when you come into prison and you're loaded down with guilt and shame, and then you feel like I'm a failure, I can't do anything. So I really mentored women in prison. So many times they would give me what they would call the bad kids and ask me to take them up under my wing to see if I could help them get on a different track. And so many success stories. I could go on and on, but I'm really not trying to just keep ringing. My record speaks for itself. And if you even saw the things that people write me, family members who write me, even things that are posted on my Facebook about the impact that I made on the lives of their loved ones, you can see that this is not something that I just started doing. This is the way I live my life.
Is there anyone specifically that you think about often who is still in jail?
Well, really not a particular person, but the people who are serving life sentences who I left behind, who also deserve a second chance. And some of them are serving long sentences that are really life sentences. You think if you come in and you're in your 50s and someone is giving you a 30-year sentence, that still is a life sentence. So it's the group of people that are serving these life sentences who don't see their children grow up and may never reunite with them again. I can't get them out of my head. I can't get them out of my heart.
You lost both of your parents with whom you were incredibly close while you were serving time. What would you say to them now? And how would they feel if they could see how much you've achieved and how different your situation is now?
I would tell my parents that I didn't forget what you told me. My mother told me when I went to prison not to allow prison to change who I was as a person. Don't let that environment that I was in dictate who I am. And I didn't. I changed my environment. I didn't let my environment change me.
Is there anything else you want people to know about you or about people who are serving, especially with these first time nonviolent offenses? Like the perception of people in jail is one thing, but to see and speak to someone like you and see the work you're doing, what do you want to tell people who maybe haven't, who don't really understand what type of people are serving sentences like this?
These are people who have made a mistake. But should that mistake cost them their life, give them a second chance. We're not talking about just a statistic or a number. We're talking about real human beings. We're talking about people who were your neighbors, people who were maybe your church members. We're talking about friends. We're talking about families, mothers, sons, daughters. Look at us as people. Look at them as people. Think about the worst mistake you've made, and you are getting a second chance. So I would say to support criminal justice reform. And I'd also say, please read my book, Afterlife. It's an eye opener. When one person goes to prison, it has a ripple effect in society. The whole family goes because my family did every year of that 21 years without me. My community missed me as a vibrant, contributing member of my community and society. So I just, I really want people to know that it does affect you when someone goes to prison. Maybe not directly, but indirectly, you are impacted.
How do you live your life now that's different from before after everything you've gone through?
I live my life. Every day is so precious to me. Mornings like this morning when I woke up, when I open my eyes and I see the ceiling and I don't see a bunk bed, I give thanks for that. I'm thankful just to be able to go outside the house, to open the door and walk outside and breathe fresh air. I keep saying it smells different to me, the air in prison, even though I know it's the same air, but it's just the sweetness of freedom. Don't take it for granted. Don't take life for granted.
You had a job lined up for right when you left. Tell me about that. How was it going back into working and what were you doing?
Well, I had a job lined up, but I ended up doing other jobs. When I came out, I hit the ground running. And it was working in a dental office. But when I came out, I became a fellow for the Buried Alive Project, and I started
Wow.
speaking, speaking, and speaking. And my family was saying that this work that you're doing is more important than anything else because they met so many families who don't have a voice, who don't have a Kim Kardashian, who won't go before the president, who don't have anyone to speak for them. And I keep saying they may not have anyone else, but they've got Alice Marie Johnson, who is not only ran across the road into the arms of my family, but is running for them now.
Alice, thank you so much for joining us here on Bold. It was really a privilege to be able to speak to you.
Thank you so much for having me.